as of right now, as I sit down to record episode 19 of Break It Down with Bryan H., I am a Baltimore Orioles fan. But I tell you this, by the time you listen to it, I will have moved on to the Los Angeles Dodgers with Manny Machado. Why? Because the Baltimore Orioles front office just can't seem to get it together. But here's one thing. The sport of professional wrestling never disappoints.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Bryan H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Bryan H. I'm your host, Bryan H. Waters. Now, on today's show, we have an action-packed episode. And you know what? I'm getting right into my top rope.
Going up to the top rope.
It's time for this week's Top Rope segment of the week.
All right, so my top rope this week is simply The Miz and Daniel Bryan. You guys know I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan, and I've been waiting for this feud to get going. Now, I tend to believe, if I want to just take a step back, I believe that this was going to happen the way it is, but I think that with Big Cass getting casted away from the WWE due to his bad behavior, I think that the Bludgeon Brothers were kind of just thrown in and said, you know what, we'll get to where we're going with Miz and DB, but we need to have something because we don't want to have that getting started for Extreme Rules. I personally believe we will get Miz and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, but you know, I think we had to get through Extreme Rules. If you missed it, The Miz called himself having a eulogy for Team Hell No. Said Team Hell No was dead. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. You know, we saw The Miz, we saw him come out there and he had Kane's mask on a pillow and all this other stuff, but Daniel Bryan's music hit after, you know, The Miz pretty much said that, you know, he just talked about the return of Daniel Bryan, said he'll never be back at the WWE Championship level. And of course, Daniel Bryan took exception to that and beat up the people that was there to protect The Miz. And, you know, he got his hands on The Miz a little bit, but not the way we want to see it. So I think this sets up for gives us a setup for something bigger. In the end, I want to see Miz and Daniel Bryan at this year's SummerSlam. And of course, you know what I want to see, Daniel Bryan and somebody in the WWE Championship match with Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania 35. So that was that. Let's move on to Raw. If you missed it, Kurt Angle has been He's finally said what I've been saying, and, you know, he's tired now of Brock Lesnar holding the WWE Universal Championship hostage, you know. So, what I was trying to figure out, they had a match between Roman and Bobby Lashley where it appeared that first it was going to be a multi-man match a couple weeks ago, but then it was, all right, so we're not going to have a multi-man match because Brock Lesnar not going to defend the belt, but you know what, Lashley, Reigns, you still have an issue with each other, so you go ahead and you fight, right? Well, Lashley won. Make sure you check out the post show for Extreme Rules if you missed it. I talked about it. But then they had two triple threat matches. And on both triple threat matches, who's the winner? Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. So I'm sitting there like, oh, why we got to get this again? I mean, I was kind of hoping for Drew McIntyre to win one of them just because we would have more than likely got Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley for the winner to face Brock Lesnar, but I guess you don't want to put Drew McIntyre in that spot just yet because you want, when they want to put him there, he's going to get the title. I mean, he's going to get the actual shot. So now I'm wondering, do we get a triple threat match in order to keep Brock strong, or do we get the one-on-one match that we want to see? We get the one-on-one match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. That match is money. I mean, look at it. You know, give us Brock Lesnar, give us Bobby Lashley. It sells itself. UFC fans will tune in because while Bobby Lashley wasn't necessarily in UFC, he did do some MMA, so people will want to see it. So Just give us that match. That's what I want to see. But let's move back to SmackDown. So our WWE champion, the guy who's the face that runs the place, AJ Styles, after a successful title defense against Rusev at Extreme Rules, took on Andrade Cien. And that was an incredible match. Way to start off SmackDown on fire. There was a the challenge for a match with AJ was made before the show got started. But this right here to me is like, okay, finally, the former NXT champion in the ring with the WWE champion. That right there shows me, okay, this guy can go. Shows the world he can go. Because let's be real, if you're just a casual fan and you just want to see the big storylines, you probably wasn't paying much attention to him in the ring anyway. But when you put him in the ring with AJ Styles, now, even though he lost, he looked great in a loss than he did, honestly, in a win on a pre-show at Extreme Rules. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break. I'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your girl, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, host of Listen In with K&N on Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. And I want to make sure you are listening right here to Break It Down with Bryan H., brought to you by The Wrestling Realm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Wow. Did you see the end of SmackDown? We saw Randy Orton interfering in a classic match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Jeff Hardy, a rematch for the United States Championship. Jeff Hardy looking to get his title back, but unfortunately it was Randy Orton grabbing him by the foot and said, no, you're not getting this back right now. Man, and then he proceeded to beat him up and beat him up and beat him up. And then he went to his ears, folks. Oh, my goodness. It was cringeworthy. He went to his ears and looked like he was going to rip, obviously, if you know Jeff Hardy has spacers, which, shout out to anybody who can get those. My brother has them. It's not for me. I have earrings, but I can't, I'm not spacing on my ears. But he started ripping at it. And it was very, very tough to watch. But we saw a vicious side of the Viper, Randy Orton. That is the heel Randy Orton I want to see. The babyface role, it was a solid hand. Obviously, Randy Orton's so good. I mean, he's definitely one of the best in this generation. As a performer, I was explaining to my mother the other day that John Cena is Hulk Hogan and Randy Orton is Macho Man. He'll never be bigger than John Cena. But to the quote-unquote wrestling fans and not so much the entertainment fans, he's going to be their favorite. Let's be real. Most of you guys love Macho Man because of his in-ring skills. Sure, you love the promos, obviously. But a lot of people say, oh, I love Macho Man more than I love Hulk Hogan. Me, not the case. But Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy, this is a feud I want to see. I would love to see this take place at SummerSlam, but that also makes me wonder, what do you do with Shinsuke Nakamura? This is why it would have been nice if Bobby Roode was still on SmackDown. Hopefully there's something there. We got a lot of time between now and SummerSlam where maybe they'll bring Bobby Roode back because, he's not really doing much. And that'll keep you right there because Dolph Ziggler, he beat Bobby Roode and, kind of sent Roode on his way. And I was excited. So, okay, even if it's not for the title, just can he get a good win? But no, that wasn't the case. And I have to admit, Dolph Ziggler is putting on some of the best matches, but it's not about stealing shows. It's actually about getting wins. And he's showing a different side to his character. I want to see if this is going to stick because that's always been the problem with Dolph Ziggler. He always ends up jobbing. And it's always, I'm still in the show. And it just reminds you that time Dusty Rhodes had a heart-to-heart with Cody. And he said, hey, Cody, while you're here dashing, Miz is the WWE champion. You guys, pretty much saying you guys came up, but this guy done went on to new heights, became the champion, and you're just dashing Cody Rhodes. So that's what I see when I see Dolph Ziggler. He's sitting up there and he's doing his he was doing his thing, but now he seems serious, and before you know it, maybe, just maybe, he'll be a WWE championship picture. And if there are two dudes with attitudes 2.0, I think we can get invested in that storyline. Maybe Dolph Ziggler could be set up for a monster babyface run if Drew McIntyre turns on him, because Drew McIntyre looks bigger and better than he's ever looked before. And right now he looks like he should be in the Universal title picture. But I sit there and I'm looking like these mid-card titles on Raw and SmackDown are outdoing the tag titles. And I should really say Raw's tag team division. SmackDown's tag team division isn't bad. I've said that time and time again. But the mid-card titles are really doing their thing, and they all seem important. The U.S. title seems important. Dolph Ziggler's making that Intercontinental Championship important. Him and Seth Rollins put on some of the best matches. You could go back to when The Miz held the title, and then, they had the matches at WrestleMania. So I'm really loving the state of the mid-card championships and even the U.S. title. When Bobby Roode had it, Randy Orton had it. Then we had Jinder Mahal for a day. Now to Jeff Hardy. So I'm really happy with the state of the mid-card championships. Now, let me get on to the women. We're going to start with Carmella. She's still the champion. But guess what? I think that title reign may be coming to an end soon. We see Becky Lynch coming out there. Becky's been on a roll. She's been getting the wins. It seemed like right around when SmackDown was here in Baltimore, I want to say it was around May, it seemed as if Becky Lynch was kind of on a downward spiral. And it seemed like, okay, what are they going to do to get her going? Now that she's gotten going again, she looks like she's ready. And, I saw Lance Storm tweet, so I got to mention him. He said, this is what he likes to see. Somebody kind of build up to the main, build up victories before they get the title shot, not just a random match. And that's what I see with Becky Lynch. And I think she will be the one to dethrone Carmella if she doesn't. And what? Actually, she should. And then maybe you bring back Charlotte and turn her heel. And then that's when we get Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Because I do think we get that match eventually. So I want to see how far that goes. But speaking of turning on and friendships, what is going on with Sasha Banks and Bayley? I just cannot trust Sasha Banks. She just reminds me of somebody who will be a snake in the grass. She comes out there. She told Becky Lynch, "I loved you. This is the reason. I love when you hug people. Yeah, I always loved you." But no, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. Sasha Banks, Bayley, watch your back because Sasha will turn on you, or maybe, just maybe, we see Bayley flip the script and we see Bayley turn on Sasha because she's just had enough. But I'm gonna give that one time. I know a lot of people may not have liked it, but you know what? It's something different, and I've said it over and over again. Slow build, folks. Slow build. And now we have a match set for SummerSlam, the Women's Championship, the Raw Women's Championship. Ronda Rousey will challenge Alexa Bliss. Can I say I told you so? I've been telling you guys for weeks that Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss is the money matchup. It's not Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks. It's not Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. It's Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss. I just watched the table for three with Alexa Bliss, Trish, and Lita. That right there shows you the elite class that she's headed towards. And I'm just tired of people saying, "Oh, it's because she's blonde." You have to look at her body of work, and then I want you to look at the character, because at the end of the day, you watch wrestling for the character. You watch the WWE, I should say. The most invested WWE fans are invested in the characters. Why? Because that's what the children are invested into. The work rate in the wrestling is great. Don't get me wrong, but the investment is in the characters. And it is Alexa Bliss who has us more invested in her character, and that is the reason why she has held more women's championships than anybody since the split. That's on a combination of both championships, I should say, because obviously Charlotte and Sasha, they done had the belts about 20 times a piece. So let me take a break. Afterwards, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk about Hulk Hogan.
Diesel here from View from the Top Rope, telling you you're doing exactly what you should be right now, and that is listening to Break It Down with Brian H., brought to you by the Wrestling Realm. Now throwing it back to you, Brian.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back now. Obviously, the immortal Hulk Hogan has returned. He is back in the WWE as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned. Now, there's rumors that Titus O'Neil got up and walked away, said he was not happy. But then Titus was on Raw the next night. I find that hard to believe. Everybody always wants to pick a story. And then, I just don't. I don't know. I don't see why. I feel like if that was the case, I feel like it would have got out sooner. And I think people just say, hey, let's choose the token black guy. And then if he did, I'm wrong. So be it. But Titus O'Neil, like I said, I just don't know. I don't believe it. But, Elijah Burke, or it was also known as Pope, he wrote this heartfelt Facebook post, and it was talking about Hulk Hogan. And he just went on to discuss about how not only was Hogan nice to him, but he had a story, just sharing how Hulk Hogan welcomed him with open arms and how they used to chill in the locker room at TNA and they would bounce ideas off each other. And he said, he was disappointed when he heard those words, but he had also said he had to understand a time in his life when he said it. Some of the same things I've been saying, but obviously I've never been in a locker room, so I've always been accused of, you're just a big Hulk Hogan fan or a Hulkamaniac. Truth be told, I've said this time and time again, and it's okay. People are not going to believe me. Had I not read his book, had I not watched that A&E special, I probably would have been upset like everybody else. But Elijah Burke mentioned that, and he said, here's a guy who had the gun in his mouth. And he reminded people, like, that was a bad time. And he even said, like, Hogan has shared some of this stuff with him. Obviously, he shared it. He said the word. So he said he had to put himself in that place. So it's a very extended post. I encourage you to read it. It just goes to show you, like he says, like, if you never cast a sin, if you never had a sin, you never did anything wrong, you throw the first stone. And one of the things I ended with this that Elijah Burke said, think about the worst thing you have ever done in your life, or the worst thing you've ever said in your life, and think about if the world knew it, how would they look at you? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Wrestling for the Culture.
It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look inside to see what the wrestlers of color have been doing this week.
Wrestling for the Culture is brought to you by thebrianhwaters.com, where you can go on Amazon right from the website and get your items, support me, support the show. So, Bobby Lashley victorious this week over Roman Reigns. Very impressive, but then he also was victorious at victorious on Raw. So where do we go? Only time will tell. I think we do get Bobby Lashley and Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar in the ring at SummerSlam, I hope. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Roman Reigns again. Last week, Cedric Alexander, retaining the Cruiserweight Championship in a classic against Hideo Itami. Ariella Nix title reign starts off to a great start. She's still your Capital Wrestling Women's Champion. Then we also saw this week Willie Mack Hardcore. He defeated Andy Phoenix at House of Hardcore 48 to retain the House of Hardcore Twitch Television Championship. And then we saw the Rascals, that is Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, hold on to their PWG tag team titles when they defeated the Young Bucks. And if you have been living under a rock, or you have not been on the social media world, you may not know that the NXT has quite a few signings of people of color, and so reported to WWE Developmental, we have Keith Lee, as you know, former PWG champion, Lacey Lane, MJ Jenkins, Steve Irvin Jr., and Denzel let me make sure I got this right, Dujardnet. So, adding the people of color to the WWE roster, obviously that's a great thing. That source is Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. Shout out to them. Always keep you updated with Wrestlers for the Culture. So, And also this week we saw The Rock, well, last week I should say, The Rock made it clear that, he supports his daughter who said she wants to be a professional wrestler. So that will be interesting. 4th generation, how cool would that be? She go in there and dominate. So that is it for this week's Wrestler for the Culture. Now it is time for everyone's favorite segment, From the Realm.
Now for our From the Realm segment, where I answer your questions from the Facebook fan page, the Facebook group page, and the Twitter at Wrestling Realm.
All right, so this week we got a couple questions. We got 3 participants, and we're going to start off with View from the Top Rope, which you can find them at StarCast coming up in September. And their question is, why does Vince refuse to push Asuka, and whom should challenge Carmella next? So here's my take when it comes to Asuka. I believe that Asuka is pretty much untouchable. She's done her thing as far as winning, and she'll get the title, but I think we'll see sort of an edge to her before we get there, because right now if she wins the gold, where do we go? Do we just have her and Charlotte? But I do like the fact that she is getting pinned 1, 2, 3. So I just think that now is not the time for her to win the gold. But I believe I said earlier in the show, Becky Lynch will be the next challenger for Carmella, and I think it's Becky Lynch who takes the title from her. So moving on, Octavio Martinez Jr. Shout out to Octavio, longtime fan of the Wrestling Realm, and his question is: now that Hulk Hogan has been reinstated to the WWE Hall of Fame, what will he be doing? So I think Hogan is going to be an ambassador for the company. Shout out to my buddy, my big brother Glenn Thomas, which you can check him out, Fox Sports 1340, Wrestling Marks of Excellence Radio. We've been going back and forth, and it's always a fun debate when Glenn and I get into it, because it's always love. Glenn doesn't think Hogan should be on TV. He thinks he'll be kept away from TV. I can't wait for his rebuttal, and I will be sure to post the link. So make sure you follow me at Bryan H. Waters, and make sure you follow him at GFather725. But I think that we will see Hogan soon. I kind of think that he's going to come out and do the whole address the crowd, or he's going to get that 18-minute, 10-minute reception. But I think he's more going to be an ambassador role. He's going to be going places. Obviously, as a WWE Hall of Famer, he has I think he'll be back on the Legends deal. I think he'll go some places. He might go to NXT and talk to people. But I don't think he'll be an active television role. Remember when he left, he really wasn't. So I think he'll just kind of slide right back in there. That's what I want to see. I hope that I can get to a show where Hulk Hogan is at, praying for WrestleMania 35 right now. It's looking like we're good to go. So, but yeah, that's one of my, my favorite all-time wrestler after Daniel Bryan. So I definitely want to see him. But that's what I think we have. I don't think they hold off till WrestleMania. I do think we'll see him maybe in the next couple of months, maybe around Monday Night Football. Who knows? So, and now, final questions come from The Shark, Sean Williams. Make sure you check out his show each and every week on Podbean and on YouTube. His first question: does AJ Styles lose the belt before the year is up? And if so, to whom? Man, Shark, I'm thinking Samoa Joe, but I'm not sure. I just can't see him losing the title. In a perfect world, and I got to credit the real Dwayne Allen, because he said what I was thinking during one of our shows that we have that's not on the air. But I got to credit him first. I would love to see AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, and that would be the build-up, and we get that at WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan going over. So if that's the case, no, AJ Styles doesn't lose it. Who's going to turn heel in this Sasha and Bayley angle? So, I mentioned this earlier. I think it's set up for Sasha to go heel, but the swerve would be Bayley going heel. If I had to choose, I think the safe bet is always to go Sasha. But I do think you can pull off a swerve. You swerve everybody, and Bayley doesn't accept the love that she's getting from Sasha Banks. And last, we've seen Dolph with the IC title before. How long does he hold it for? Who should take it? What will that be when Drew finally turns against Dolph? So, Dolph Ziggler, I don't think. Yeah, it's so hard because Raw is just so all over the place, man. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, you can have Dolph Ziggler dropped the title to say a Finn Balor or to back to Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose, but so all over the place. I do think if Ambrose comes back, maybe there's some sort of feud. Depends what type of edge he has. Because are you going to really put the Shield back together? I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but maybe that's what happens. And maybe it's Ambrose who takes the title from him. But I do think that Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, they're together for a while. I would love to see both of them hold the titles like Shawn Michaels and Diesel did. I would like to see both of them hold the titles, but right now I just don't see. It's kind of hard for me to say who should take it, but I wouldn't mind seeing him and Ambrose go back at it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and check out the videos that's right there if you're on the YouTube. So long, everybody.